When you know who you are, there is no competition. Oh, wait a minute. 16 on a track, I'ma hit it. Said you wanna play hard and make it quit it. I'ma also go hard with it. I switch my hips and I play my cards right. I'ma do what I gotta do if it's all night. I see you trying to be like me, but baby, there's no one like see is you and me. High class, don't mix with low class. Me, I'm fine and you dusty. You can spark a whole block, but I touch the whole world by masses. The more you talk about me, baby, the higher I become. You haven't met your match, cause I'm 200 steps ahead of you. Got them haters talking all behind my back, cause I'm the epitome of what you like. So go ahead and hate on me. I'm not trying to outshine you. I just gotta do what I do in my custom fitted shoes. I'm not affiliated with the other kinds like you, straight. You know, the hood rather idle, you know, the trashy kind. And you wonder why they call the boys and girls, they like crabs in a barrel. They keep their minds narrow. High class, don't mix with low class. Me, I'm fine and you dusty. You can spark a whole block, but I touch the whole world by masses. The more you talk about me, baby, the higher I become. You haven't met your match, cause I'm 200 steps ahead of you. Got them haters talking all behind my back, cause I'm the epitome of what you like. So go ahead and hate on me. I'm not trying to outshine you. I just gotta do what I do in my custom fitted shoes. This is my dedication. Give me my standing ovation. Yeah, I'ma get it off my chest till I say you're obsessed. I'm the best in his eyes. Don't be surprised. I'm a wonder in disguise. Nothing besides if you decide to run and be you can hide. Got them haters talking all behind my back, cause I'm the epitome of what you like. So go ahead and hate on me. I'm not trying to outshine you. I just gotta do what I do in my custom fitted. Got them haters talking all behind my back, cause I'm the epitome of what you like. So go ahead and hate on me. I'm not trying to outshine you. I just gotta do what I do in my custom fitted shoes. Custom fitted shoes. Custom fitted shoes. My custom fitted shoes. Ooh. So, welcome, everyone. Hope all is well out there. This is Cesare, aka the Pretty Producer, aka the Singing Scholar, coming to you with a live video. I'm hoping that everybody can see me on Instagram. I believe I'm live on Facebook and also YouTube. So I want you all to join me. Thank you so much for just coming. I know that this is like a time frame where a lot of people are probably working and doing different things, but I appreciate your time. I want to just first start out by saying thank you so much for your support. Those of you who know me, I am thankful because you have probably seen me around for years online and sharing all kinds of inspiration, etc. So those of you who don't know me, once again, my name is Cesare, aka the Singing Scholar, aka the Pretty Producer. I am a singer. I'm also a emotional health and wellness consultant, and I am also a speaker. And so the goal is really just to use my voice to be able to speak life, to be able to inspire people, to have real life conversations from a down to earth perspective. So that's the ultimate goal. So those of you who have been, catching up with me for some time, there's this topic that I said, hey, let's talk about sex. Let's talk about
like before you give someone your body, right? So this is personal testimony. Actually did this video. I pre-recorded it yesterday, but I felt like I need to do this live, like in real person right now. So this is me in, the real time. And so I'm not going to ramble on too much. I'm going to really get to the point of this. So, like I said, this is personal. So, my experience is not obviously everybody's experience, but I definitely want to talk about the topic because it's a topic that's it is talked about, but I believe that I have a contribution to this particular topic. So, I think that the best way for me to start out when it comes to about well, what is this about? Like, don't give them your body, like, or before you do this, right? So it's really about, I'm sharing my testimony about the different experiences that I had in the past concerning like experiences consistent of my viewpoint, my involvement, and why am I here today speaking about this topic. I think I want to start off in my childhood. I think it's good to really, like I said, I want to keep it real. I want to be honest because I've never actually shared this story before at all, publicly speaking. But I believe it's going to set someone free and it's going to help you to think about things differently. So, as I was growing up, I grew up in the majority of a single parent home. So my mom, right? And so I'm from New York City, and I want to give some context behind that background too. So being from New York and also being in a single parent home, we're already talking about two different types of settings that can, kind of influence your worldview towards things, and it will kind of vary how you see things in life, right? So, but I will say that I came from a home of love. And so as I was growing up, the only child on my mom's side, I was going through life up until about 13 years old. I was in elementary school and I decided that I wanted to get baptized. So, or get saved, I'll say that. I decided I wanted to get saved. In other words, I wanted to get to know who God was. I was like, oh, I want to be in his kingdom. I want to do the things to help people and I want to make people happy and things like that. So, when you are a child, obviously everything is just like so bubbly and you want to do things and the world is, sort of kind of perfect, that type of thing. Now, my mindset hasn't changed as much, even though I'm an adult, because I'm still enthusiastic about life, but life happens, right? So that's the purpose of let's talk about sex. So as I really decided on my own to say, yeah, I want to, dedicate my life at that age, I want to take you through my teenage years, very briefly speaking, where I was in high school. And you know how the influence is, you start getting attracted to the opposite sex and things like that. And so, ironically, I went to all girls school. So there wasn't really like a lot of guys around, but they were around, in other places and whatnot. So when I was 16 years old, I definitely was exposed to a lot of different pressures. Not, I wouldn't really say peer pressure per se. It was just more so like peer influence, right? Because sometimes we're not necessarily pressured to do things, but you're influenced, because it's around you. And so we're, flirting with people and things of that sort. And so I got into a relationship when I was 16 years old. And my development and understanding of how to interact with the opposite sex was already a bit skewed. So I'm being honest. And the reason why it was a little bit on that side is because, again, I'm kind of like, I'm being very open about this, where I've had a like an off and on relationship with my biological father. So there were some things and dynamics I just never understood about men. And I was growing up in a certain way where I felt like, okay, I have to be in survival mode. I have to be aggressive. I have to be, the leader of certain things because of coming out of that type of environment, especially in New York. So linking it back to this, first relationship. Well, yeah, first relationship, you can say. I ended up losing my virginity. So in that time frame, it was extremely heartbreaking and it was extremely like just dramatic, and I wouldn't say traumatic, but it was definitely dramatic. And the reason why I say dramatic is because when you're around again these influences and you think you're kind of like engaging in something that's rather just not that serious per se, and you get involved with emotions and things of that sort, yeah, that can be a lot going on. So that happened. And so eventually I separated from the person. I'm very thankful till this day. And so when I separated from the person, here's where things become very interesting as I'm taking you through my adulthood, briefly speaking, where so now I'm at a point where, okay, I had a relationship, and that relationship was not something that was based on anything long term. So there was another aspect of me not understanding how to interact again with men, because I'm thinking, like, okay, maybe casual relationship. Now, I know a lot of people worldwide, right? But I want to also emphasize, not only just culturally speaking, from just being in New York, having, like I said, a kind of aggressive kind of a, approach, but also here in America, I'm going to be very real. I believe that our culture here, it's like we really have this do what you want type of mindset. It's very loose here, meaning like you have a lot of options. There's not a lot of standards sometimes that are set into place, or again, depending on where you come from, your background, your home, there's a lot of things that could be missing, or you're not really taught something, or maybe you were taught something but you wasn't really aware of the consequences, and etc. So I say that to say, um, as I started growing up and I got into like my 20s, I started seeing that I was replicating some behaviors based on the music I was listening to, based on who I was hanging around, based on like my high school and even college. I would say more so like especially in college. And then I also realized, like, wait, there were certain images and different things in my family that I saw, because everybody has like some dysfunctions in their family. And again, I'm not trying to like put my family on blast and stuff like that, but I will be honest, like, when you see people that are not married, or maybe not happily married, or constantly remarrying, or infidelity has taken place in certain cases, and just different things that you have heard and seen. So when you see these type of things, sometimes these can subconsciously influence your behavior more than you know. So in my 20s, I'm like, ooh, I don't want commitment. I don't really want to be married. It was like parts of me I wanted to be with someone like long term, and then other parts of me was just like kind of like blocking it out. And so I'm looking like, okay, as a 20 something year old, getting involved with people, not all sexually per se, but just like, relational, getting to know someone and things of that sort. And I also found like it was a pattern of where the people that were coming to me, and I was coming to them, they were not clear about any type of like commitment for the most part. I can't speak like for every single person, but I'm talking about like the majority. And I think, like I said, the reason why I wanted to talk about sex is because sometimes we don't realize that there's certain types of patterns that we attract, we become, a part of, because of different things that we don't typically think about outside of our association with people. So we're not thinking about, oh, this might be linked to how I was, surrounded by certain things, or linked to my own choices. So I will say, like, as I'm in my 20s, here's the thing. Now, mind you, I got saved back when I was 13. So I got baptized like when I was 15 years old, but ended up losing my virginity at 16 years old. And then I'm in college because I want to like jump to college now. And so I'm having this like, relationship with God, and I was going to church, before I went to college, but I'm not doing right. I'm still living a certain type of way where it's like, okay, I'm doing what I want to do on this end, but then I'm trying to keep a certain type of image. And it wasn't so much that I was trying to pretend. It was like literally, I just thought that was the norm, to say, you know what, oh, if I mess up here and there, I'll just, maybe I'll just ask God for forgiveness a little later on and whatever. And just still kind of battle and fight between like, being involved with those type of behaviors, and still trying to, kind of keep the image of being holy and things like that. So, one thing that really started to kick in is that I noticed in my college years, and then like post college years, that was when there was some changes going on with my like just perception of things. Yet I still wasn't doing right. And I wanted to just really say that from a down to earth perspective, because I think that there are times where people pretend like they are doing so well, like they're so well behaved, they have everything under, need for certain type of impression. But at the end of the day, there's still something going on. Now, I know that we live in a world, right, where people will say, well, you can do what you want to do. You can be in a long term relationship and not be married. Some people will argue and say, oh, well, marriage is just a piece of paper. There's so many different things here. But the goal is not for me to try to convince people to, see it in that perspective. But again, I'm just speaking from my experience. So, as I came out of college, I realized, like, I said, I don't, this route is just not really for me as much. And I said, I was still scared of like commitment. I was still thinking about, like, wow, I don't think, do I really want to go down that road? Then I would say it really started hitting me towards my mid 20s. And that's when I still was involved in these very like casual, I would want to say lifeless type of relationships, because I did not realize that it really matters who you are connected to, and it matters who's around you, like who's mentoring you, who's helping you. And I want to say, like, there were two like very life-changing relationships that I had, where it led me to making a certain type of decision with my life. And with these two particular relationships, they I found that as I was growing, because as I started growing spiritually speaking, as I started growing towards wanting to do certain goals, I wanted better. And I was like, I think I want to either A, just be alone, or C, like maybe be with someone who actually complements and we're going somewhere together. So I was still kind of confused about those type of thoughts, because again, wasn't seeing a lot of positive examples. And and even people who are married, some people are not happily married. So they're still like giving you advice that doesn't really stem from a good place per se. So this is what was going on. Some people would think, like, once you make a decision to say, oh, I'm gonna change, I'm gonna be celibate, I'm gonna do this, you think you're gonna just have a straight ride. So here's the real talk, is that it's not always a straight ride, especially for the majority of people. I'm not saying that you can't get it together like that one time you decide, but what I'm saying is that because these type of issues, certain type of issues that we might have that we're in denial about, it can cause you to slip. It can cause you to go backwards sometimes. So there was a time when I was like, oh, I'm going to stay, to myself in my 20s. And then I ended up meeting someone else. And then, I definitely got involved with them, and that was very like draining. Okay. And so I started realizing, like, why do I keep, going back to certain kinds of behaviors, knowing that is draining, knowing like we don't have anything in common. How can light and darkness come together? Like, even in the imperfections that I was experiencing, misbehaving, being honest, there was still something about how God had his grace on my life. There was still something about, like, I still have a light, but see, if I keep making certain types of decisions, that light can dim. And I think one of the biggest things about these two relationships, as an example, is like the fact that I brought it up and I was like, are you not convicted? Do you not feel like uncomfortable about this, or, anything? And they're like, no, they're good. They don't care. And I said, "Oh, this is serious." And so here's the thing, right? So I had dreams about these two particular people, and these dreams were very disturbing. I'm not going to discuss these dreams into detail here, but I will say that sometimes, there's ways we can pick up on when something is not right, or if you're getting a lot of warning signs, or getting like an ultimate like red flag about things. And so what do? We sometimes we ignore them. So as I one particular relationship, one of the dreams I did have is like, this particular individual was on a train, and I was on a train as well, the same train. And so some of you that live like in London or New York, you know that we have trains, right? So there's different cars. And this particular person was not dressed for the occasion to be in a subway car of a train. He had on like a tank top, and he had on shorts, and he was barefoot. And so people were probably like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? Well, this person was not prepared, for this particular setting. And then on top of that, I was fully dressed and I kept moving up to the front of the cars, to the front of the train. This person was still in the back and just there. And this person, it was this gray clothing this person had on. And this person had no type of like vibrancy, like nothing. And I kept walking and I kept going further and further up to the front to the point where I didn't see that person anymore. And so for me, that was a wake up call to say, you know what? I need to step out of this, particular situation. So you would think, right, when you have, feelings for people and again, you're doing certain things with them sexually, you would think that, okay, if you say stop and, things are over, you're going to move on. But let me tell you about how serious that if you're not serious about making certain types of decisions, that you can fall back into things. So years later, I decided to get rebaptized. And that was my way of just kind of rededicating, my life. And I said I wanted to get back on track and just have a fresh start and whatnot. And so as I'm having this fresh start and I'm thinking everything is fine, next thing you know, I ended up doing it again. And so I say this to be very honest, where we can't pretend and like I said, put on a certain type of image and then we're still doing something. It just doesn't work. It doesn't add up. So even though I got baptized again, I still was not living right. I still wasn't living right. And here's what's so beautiful about the outcome of that situation, where when I got baptized, this is like the most interesting thing about it is not to be graphic, but when I got baptized, I literally had multiple bowel movements, not diarrhea, just multiple. I'm talking about like 5 times a day for days and days and days and days. I really believe that was something, symbolically about just the removal of a lot of just the consequences, and residue from just previous behaviors. And I'm going to go into that in the next part of this particular talk in a moment. But I want to just tell you about like the final relationship that I was like, okay, getting too many warning signs here. So as I mentioned, I did get baptized again, and then this was in 2014. And so then I had another relationship, and I had a dream, a couple of dreams about that particular person. But here's a dream that really, really like, I just knew I was kind of on thin ice with God, because I was trying my best not to be convicted, but I was convicted. And I was in this individual's bed, and I went to sleep and then had that dream. And one of the dreams was like, he was in the driver's seat of a car. I was in the passenger side, and this car was going so fast down this road, but this road was dark. I mean, it was no street lights, nothing. It was pure dark. And so as we're going so fast and fast and fast, I'm seeing like little leaves and different things like that push against the window of the car, but it was an unusual speed and unusual darkness. So I turned around to him and I said, where are we going? He said nothing. And we just kept going and going and going and going. And what got me about it, I woke up so just like super nervous, super like, oh my goodness, this is scary. And the reason why it was scary is because it's basically like, I'll say it simply that if I would have kept that going, if I would have kept just pleasure, lust, if I would have just kept doing that, that would have led me to a path literally of destruction, where I could have lost my life, my whole destiny, everything could have been just like literally derailed. And so it really took for that, such like I said, a deep. I mean, and this one was real, like a deep conviction. Said, okay, I have to stop this. So I ended up breaking up with that particular person, and so when I did, the person was not happy about it, and the person was not convicted. And on top of that, this person was not a believer. He just wasn't a believer. And so I realized, I said, okay, there are different things that I had to step back to recognize, like, I'm giving myself, right, to someone, I'm giving myself to a person that doesn't have any type of direction for what is right. And so when I stopped officially, I said, you know what, I'm done. I said, I cannot risk my life at this point. I said, I'm done. And so I wanted to just say briefly about what does that consist of as far as risks. So a lot of people, I'm just being honest, it doesn't matter your age either, but I would say, especially for like younger people, like for real, like you think that it's just simple pleasure. You think that these are just, because we have needs, right? A lot of us will always argue that, oh, we have needs, and it's okay to do whatever you want to do. But some of the consequences that I know for a fact that, let's just be honest, you're going to have a lot of baby showers without a husband, without somebody being a wife. So now you have children that come up in these type of settings and thinking that, oh, okay, well, they're going to also have casual relationships that they're not going to last. You have also the mental. Now, some of you know I have a background in mental health, and the thing is, it's like, let's just be real. You ever realize that if you're really doing things, especially if you have some sort of conviction, there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of emotional ups and downs, there's a lot of stress. Some people get into arguments. A lot of people can't sleep at night. There are people who take on, sometimes you don't realize that, but when you're intimate with someone, you're joining one flesh. You don't realize that. What does that mean as far as flesh? Body to body interaction. There is a connection that is there. My goal. This is not a teaching type of video. This is a testimony, and I'm just giving you, like I said, some of the very varied consequences that usually come with certain things. Now, I'm going to leave some resources so that you can watch deeper if you're interested about those type of topics. But at the end of the day, sometimes it causes you to just be looking to see if this person is going to contact you, right? Or there are people who feel like they can be with more than one person at the same time. So that's another thing people don't talk about, the consequences before you give someone your body. Do you know what they have, disease wise? Do you know what they have, like I said, mentally wise? Do you know where they are, spiritually speaking? Like, these are a lot of things that we don't really cover, we don't really talk about. And so I just want to emphasize too, sometimes just even the basic consequence of just acting upon your feelings can lead to so much of that. And another thing is too, this is very, very like not popular that people talk about when they're talking about testimonies and things like that. But I've also have learned that even when you start engaging with people, again, you don't know what they do. You don't know what they're carrying. You don't know their behaviors. But there are things that can come out of that as well. Like, there are people who become addicted to porn, okay? There are people who start to masturbate. There are people who get involved in threesomes, all kinds of things for the sake of pleasure. So I'm being real. Like, I don't, it's like, what is to hold back? Now, I haven't been, let me just give a disclaimer. I've not been, I have not been in a threesome or anything like that. I'm just giving, like, again, these examples, but people really get involved in these type of things, even to prostitution, because again, you don't know sometimes what people are doing. There are people out here who they pimp people. Like, there's a lot of things. And so what am I really like getting at? I'm saying that the things that appear to be very pleasurable, the things that appear to be acceptable, the ultimate truth is not acceptable to God. And so, those of you who you know of me, I'm here to announce, like, publicly, that I have chosen to be celibate, and I have been celibate for 11 and a half years. So, this is the first time I'm announcing this publicly, but this is where my contentment comes from. And so, for me, and I'm not saying that that has to be you. It doesn't have to be like that long period of time, but for me, it was a journey where I said, I need to make sure that I'm healed. I want to make sure I'm breaking certain limitations off of my life. I want to make sure that I can keep what does real joy mean. I wanted to learn how to heal so that I can understand how to be made whole and complete just with me and also me and God. So for me, that was one of the best decisions that I ever made because, and don't get me wrong, I do get, like attention and things like that. And I do feel like too, when you are making certain types of moves and things like that, you have to keep some of those things private. And then obviously, those people who try to approach you and all of that, you're open with them. And those people that are, respectful of it, they're going to respect you. So I'm saying this, basically, and this is towards men and women that really think carefully about these consequences, whether you are a believer or not, because there's still consequences. And there are times when, again, we don't really think about how would life be if we were thinking from the perspective of being made whole. How does life look? What does life look like if you're willing to wait for the right person? So for me, this has been such a freedom because not only do people ask me, "Oh, how do you, why are you so happy?" or "Why are you so this?" and it's like, well, you know what? I'm going to give all the credit to God because I had to make a choice and I had to decide, and I said that I want to be married, so I am going to get married. And I wanted to be able to say, I want to share my heart, my body, my emotions, different things with my husband only. And so there are so many people that are thinking the same way. And I'm encouraging you to think that way as well. Now, if you are in a relationship right now, I'm just being honest, and you are sexually involved with the person, I would highly, highly consider you to really think carefully right now where you are. Think about your condition right now, spiritual condition, all of that. Because if it's really something that you're thinking about, and maybe you're like, oh, I've been feeling uncomfortable for a long time about this, talk to the person. Sometimes too, because it's not to say that every I'm really trying to keep this balance here. It's not to say that every relationship right now that, like if you're involved with someone and you're doing things, it doesn't mean that the relationship is bad. It just means right now that the condition is bad. So maybe if you two come together to say, listen, we need to stop this so we can do it right. So a lot of the times, like I said, this is not a popular behavior. This is not a popular topic where people are not keeping things directed from marriage. But I do believe that there is still hope. I believe, like I said, if you're in a situation right now, maybe you're with multiple people, whatever your background and everything looks like, it's no judgment. This is why we talk about real life, topics from a down to earth perspective. Because one thing that I stand on, especially from a believer side, being believing in God, I feel like, if we don't be honest, if we don't really help people see, like, no, people fall, people make mistakes, but there is a way that you can get on track. There's a way that you can be corrected in love. There's a way that you can still live life and live it fully, live it abundantly, live it with joy, live it with a refreshing. You can be even a born again virgin. You can there's hope, in other words. So I encourage you to really think carefully about, you know, how have your decisions affected you? Because I'm telling you right now, 9 times out of 10, even if it's a man, woman, doesn't matter. If they tell you like, oh, I'm good, I can deal with many people at the same time, or I can deal with someone and we're just smooth, it's not true. It's not true because you really don't. Some people don't really understand, like I said, the underlining effects, and these things will begin to surface up after a while. And I know, again, we live in this culture where people are constantly putting out, hey, we can do this a certain way and it'll be okay. But it's just like anything online, right? It's filtered, the information. You see one part, but you don't see the other. You see pleasure, but you don't see death, right? because when I say death, I'm not always necessarily talking about like literal death, but your dreams, where you're supposed to go, who you're really supposed to be with, even the actual health of your body, all of that. A lot of people were not taught that their bodies are temples. A lot of people were not taught that their bodies are of value. A lot of people were not taught that you don't have to express yourself in that way to show love. So I I want to say to those of you out there who have taken a moment to just watch that if you are thinking about going down the road of celibacy, or if you're thinking about those of you that may be a virgin, stay that way until you meet the right person. I can say honestly and publicly, I have no regrets. I'm so thankful. And I'm actually thankful to not be involved with anybody from my past, because that's another thing, too. One of the consequences can be bitterness, where people mistrust. They don't trust other people. So now we have so many people that are coming up and they are broken. They don't trust anybody. They're out here to do people wrong because someone else did them wrong. And so some people, again, we don't realize sometimes the consequences, because this thing multiplies after a while across the board to people. So if it starts with you, if you say, I want to change my life, I want to be, made whole. The reason why I keep saying made whole is because it's amazing how when you step out of certain types of behaviors, and that's not just sex related. It could be anything. It could be drinking, it could be gambling, it could be any type of behavior. But there's certain things that, again, when we involve ourselves in, we lose a lot of ourselves if we're not careful. But I'm thankful that, there's hope, I said, to be restored. There's hope where you don't have to undergo certain types of consequences. Now, I will say, by the grace of God, I've been spared. I've been spared because, when I think about it personally, having a child or children with someone that I absolutely do not want to have a family with, it's that hits home, honestly. So that's why I'm like, oh, I'm thankful. I'm 100% thankful, because and it's not to say. Let me also say it from the other side. Now, even though I've chosen to have children with my husband, right? Um, those that have had children because of failed relationships and things of that sort, please understand that children are not mistakes. They are blessings. They are blessings. But what I'm saying is that going forward, see, sometimes we don't think how deep sex is also related to generations. We don't think like that, because when you start having, again, especially if there's multiple children from different parents and things of that sort, there's a lot of confusion that breeds out of these types of involvements, and people don't think that way. They're thinking about themselves. We're thinking about our bodies, right? We think about our feelings and how we want to feel a certain way. But again, when children start to get involved, because I might be talking to someone out there that have children, and again, this is not to judge you or to make you feel bad. It's more so about like, maybe we need to start thinking outside of ourselves, because you don't want your precious sons, your precious daughters to grow up looking around all these fragmented images of their family because of just simple decisions like that. So sometimes it gets to a point where no matter the walk of life, whether you have children or not, just think about that it's bigger than you. Think about how, self-control is a real thing, despite of the world that we live in, despite of the popularity, despite what people push. I would also say this too. I think it's for both sides, but I'm going to just stay on the female side for a minute. I believe I have learned this, because now that I'm in a different type of, status right now, I feel like when someone is like very direct about what they want to do concerning a relationship with you, females, right? Men will let you know. I have also learned that even despite the ups and downs I've experienced, not having like a lot of really strong male figures initially around me in my life. I feel like that it affects how you relate to people. But at the same time, when you finally get into a place of learning, you're going to see that no, not all men are the same. Not all men are likely to try to abandon or play games, or they didn't heal from their past, and things like that. So I'm very, very encouraged to know that there are excellent men out there. And I've actually met a few people where they are on the same page. They're actually practicing celibacy. Some people are like, oh, is that a such thing? Yes, the men are as well, because some men are tired as well. So some men actually have stories as well. They're like, no, they don't want to do it. So again, this is not just like pushing for, just for women to think this way. No, this is for people in general. If you have some sort of respect for yourself, if you have some sort of realization that you have a life to live and this life has purpose, it has substance. And the reality is, you cannot share your substance with any and everybody. So it's at a point now where if you have that understanding of where you want to stand, again, if you're in a relationship now, think about how you can still reroute. It's still not too late. So that's really what I wanted to talk about. I'm going to have some resources listed, so that those of you can, if you're interested, you can look at things a little further. Because like I don't want to go too, like deep into like the consequences like of sex and things like that. But I will definitely leave the resources for you all. Now, before I'm going to wrap up now, so I hope that this has encouraged you and that you will have a different, you know, just grasp on how you want to approach your life and who you want to spend your life with and things like that. But as I had mentioned, I am a believer in Jesus Christ, and I also feel like sometimes too, especially those that may have come out of certain types of behaviors and relationships and things like that, you might be feeling like, well, I feel empty, or I feel like I don't know what's the next stop, or what is it worth living? Will I ever, get married, or will I ever, feel loved? Will I ever be able to overcome this or that? And I will say this too, honestly, going back to my personal testimony. I think that what I was suffering from, especially in the past, like specifically in the past, in my teenage and even into like my 20s, I would say I was experiencing a spirit of rejection and abandonment. And like I said, that kind of stemmed from just having, the dysfunctions in the family, and just like, and again, to even living here in America, guys, like, I've traveled, I'm pretty well traveled. I've traveled to like over 10 countries, and I've seen how like our country tends to be so isolated. We're always doing things, on our own. It's always like a survival mode, or it's like very cliquish. Like you'll stick with certain types of family or types of this and that. And so I had to be delivered from those things, and I had to be set free from those things. And so that's why sometimes, again, when people see me and they're like, oh, you seem to be happy and everything like that. Um, that's because, again, it was God. And so that's why before I leave, I want to make sure that I at least extend the invitation to any of you who have been thinking like you've been running around for a while, or maybe, like I said, you're in some stuff right now, but you want to get out. You want to get out. And so I want to extend the invitation for you to accept Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. Again, I know we live in a world where there's a ton of beliefs and there's a lot of ways that people want to do things and stuff like that. But if you feel like, you know what, something's just in me where I know there's more in my life. I know that I need to get out of certain behaviors. I know that even I just got out of this behavior, but now I need something to fill me back in. And so I will say this, that if you just say this prayer with me with an open heart and let God do the rest of the work. sometimes we make things really complicated, thinking like, oh, do I have to do all of these different steps just to ask God for forgiveness and things of that sort? No, it's just an open heart and just being sincere. So if you're in a place right now where you can say this, or if you're catching a replay, let's just say this prayer, and then we'll take it from there. So let me just pull it up really quickly because I want to make sure that I have it here so we can say it together. Okay. So repeat after me. Let's see here. Okay. All right. So repeat after me. Heavenly Father, I come to you in prayer, asking for the forgiveness of my sins. I confess with my mouth and believe with my heart that Jesus is your Son and that he died on the cross at Calvary that I might be forgiven and have eternal life in the kingdom of heaven. Father, I believe that Jesus rose from the dead, and I ask you right now to come into my life and be my personal Lord and Savior. I repent of my sins and will worship you all the days of my life. Because your word is truth, I confess with my mouth that I am born again and cleansed by the blood of Jesus. In Jesus' name, amen. So if you said that prayer, it just means that you have decided to put all of you, your heart, your mind, your soul, your body, your spirit, to be saved by God. And so it starts with, I said, just having an open heart. He will do the rest of the work. I will definitely leave some resources, as I mentioned, because even after that, if that's what you said, this prayer, that means that you should also now start to get around some people that are believers, maybe find a church home, um, and read the Bible, his word. So again, I'll leave those resources underneath this particular video. So that's what I really want to talk about today. So I am thankful that you are here. I appreciate your support once again, and I'm glad that I'm able to share these different experiences so that you know. But once again, I'm really thankful that I have been delivered from many things in my life, and I have life. That's why I speak life. So I can't speak life if I'm not living a certain way, right? Or if I'm not experiencing what does it mean to be set free? What does it mean to break off certain limitations? What does it mean to reestablish value? And again, to enter into a new status where I'm no longer into those type of confusion and things of that sort. So take good care, everyone. I hope that you have a great rest of the evening or day, no matter where you are in the world. This is Cesare, aka the Pretty Producer, aka the Singing Scholar. And if you have any questions, those of you that are connected to me like on Instagram and Facebook, you can always send me a message. Those of you who are on YouTube, I would have to just leave, I'll leave my links so that you can go to my social media and things of that sort. So once again, it's been great. Take good care of yourselves, and we will talk soon, okay? Bye.
When you know who you are, there is no competition. Oh, wait a minute. 16 on a track, I'ma hit it. Said you wanna play hard to make you quit it. I'ma also go hard with it. I switch my hips and I play my cards right. I'ma do what I gotta do. you're trying to be like me, but baby, there's no one like sees you with it.